Oh, there we go. Okay, I've been talking away there, and I've just realised that my mic wasn't on. Yep, so it's on now. No sound, mate. Mick, got it. Thanks, buddy. We're good. So, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the live stream. We're going to be talking Michael D. Cursing Stones. Real fascinating stuff, that. And some other shit. Like, share, subscribe. Do the thing. Podcast doing well. It's the second time I've said all this. Podcast is doing well, but, you know. Thanks, mate. Got it. Yep. Mick Conlon just pointed out there on the YouTube that there was no sound, which is my fault. It's really weird because the way the thing is, I can hear myself in my headphones, but I hadn't clicked the little thing on the screen. So I can hear myself, so I assume that I'm working, but I'm not. So there we go. That's what that is. Yeah. So, what was I saying? I was talking about something else, and oh yes, that was it. So a lot of my friends, Mick included, Mick Conlon, who's there over on YouTube, a lot of my friends, my music friends, including Chris from the Bonnevilles, have been sharing this little thing saying about getting venues opened, imploring the executive, to Northern Ireland executive, to formulate some sort of a plan, give us some sort of an indication, and I agree with that. Obviously, I agree with that. We need to get these things open. The reason that I got started talking about this was obviously because I mentioned my friend Mickey Bartlett, and he has had shows, sold out shows, 3 sold out shows for the Ulster Hall, rescheduled 3 or 4 times, and they were supposed to be going down like last week, and they got rescheduled again. And then another good friend of ours, Colin Geddes, another stand-up, had sold out the SSE Arena, and with 1 week's notice he had to move it all. And it's really fucking infuriating. I mean, we're 2 years into this shit almost, and you know, the thing. I mean, I feel sorry for us as a community. The music community has been absolutely hammered, and I say hammered, I mean hammered. There's been few industries has had it as tough as us in the live music game. I mean, we haven't been able to work at all. I know a lot of us haven't been able to work, but I think we've got it kind of a lot worse than most. But this is my point. While I understand the sentiment to get everything opened, and I know that the picture in question wasn't saying open everything now, it was saying give us a fucking roadmap here, and that's the point. So we can make plans. At least we've got hope. We've got plans. But the hospitals are still fucked. They've been under-resourced for years, as we know, because of our lovely Tory overlords. But we can't open the venues the way we want to. We've got our Black Cat Club, and we've got, you know, we're ready to go, and we can't get it opened because we just can't open it. And we can't open it legally and in good conscience. We can't open it because the hospitals are still fucked. But we still need this fucking roadmap. You know, schools are back. People are back at school and all sorts of things. So it's just very frustrating. It's very frustrating, and I feel we've had to reschedule a couple of tours and whatever, and we're back on for February. But I feel sorry for the comedian boys as well. That, you know, they particular, they've had massive sold out gigs just completely rescheduled. It's 3 or 4 times. It's maddening. So there you go. So that, and what else did I want to say? Oh, well, okay, yes, the big news for me. So I'm going to tell you the story. Let me just put it up. There we go. Yay. Andy's album got shortlisted for the Northern Ireland Music Prize. Yay! Northern Gothic. And it got shortlisted the best way possible by public vote. How fucking cool is that? So they asked, this was the first year they've ever done it, where they put it out to public vote, and they got everyone, and apparently there was 4,000 votes or something cast for all the acts. But Andy didn't expect to get shortlisted at all. Turns out he did. He won the public vote. Well, there was 2 bands, I believe. So there was they changed it all this year. So they decided they were going to let 1 band in for best album, and then they were going to let another band in for best, because of best single as well. And they were going to do that through the public vote. But I think they were sort of overwhelmed by the response that they got. So they let 2 bands in and for best album, and 2 bands in for best single. So me and a band called True, which is like a Celtic folk, Scottish and Irish Ulster folk. It's fucking amazing. And again, I know these boys brilliantly. They're fantastic guys. And so it was us and True, and then there was Amy Montgomery and Dea Matrona. So Amy Montgomery is an old friend of ours. Michael Mormika and Zach, who are in True, are old friends of ours. Michael Mormika recorded the Bonnevilles, last 2 Bonnevilles albums, and he's a real close buddy. Mike has played on Bonneville's albums. Zach has been hand claps and stuff on Bonneville's albums. Amy Montgomery has been hand claps and tambourines and things on Bonneville's albums. You know, if you're in the studio and we're recording, we'll just throw something at you and say, do this, we need this done, and you give it a go. So I don't know Dea Matrona. I know the band. I don't know the girls themselves, but by all accounts, I know my daughter is a fan, and by all accounts, they're fantastic people. So we all got nominated by public vote, which is just fucking fantastic. So Andy got his album nominated for the Northern Ireland Music Prize, as you can see on the screen. Shortlisted. I think it's 6 or 7 bands are going to be shortlisted, or I think that's it. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. And I think next Wednesday is the final announcements for everybody that made it. And then, again, I don't know, but in the previous years they've had the ceremonies such as it is in the Ulster Hall. And if there's... And it's open to the public, again, but we don't know what the situation is with COVID. So hoping that there's going to be a big public thing that we're going to go to. Me and Chris... And we're going to go and get fucked up. And it's going to be brilliant. And I can't tell you how fucking happy I am. And you know, people say, you know, it's, awards, what's awards? And they're right. It doesn't matter though. It doesn't mean that you don't get all fucking buzzy whenever you get nominated for these things. Right? I mean, it's... Oh, cheers just shit itself. You know, so I want to be the cool guy that sort of goes, no, I wouldn't really care about that, and if I win it, I would just put the award in the bathroom. No, fuck no. If I win it, I'll be so happy. You know, I'm sorry, but I will be. I just will be. I want to be the cool rock star, but it's not who I am. I don't care enough to, I don't really want to be that guy. I don't want to lie. I would be delighted to win. I'm delighted to get nominated. This is actually the 3rd time I've been nominated. So I've written 5 albums in my life, and 3 of them have been nominated for this prize now, with the Northern Gothic being the 3rd. So, you know, it's a big deal for me, and I'm really proud of myself. There you go. And Mick Conlon's talking to me here on the... Yeah, then people can sit in an orderly fashion at a comedy gig. Congrats on being shortlisted, bro. First time any vote I've cast has mattered. Ah, you're very kind. Thank you, Mick. You're a legend. Thanks, mate. I'm glad to see Mick, as you probably know, plays in a band called the String Ninjas, who are just fucking legends and amazing. And yeah, but Mick's back gigging again. So I've seen your few dates, and you're back in your residency in the John Hewitt and all, and fucking fantastic, which means I'm going to get up to see you. It's going to be brilliant. So I wanted to tell you about what happened last night. So, this is the story. I'm going to dedicate this show, and I'm going to dedicate Northern Gothic to all the witches of Ireland. These wonderful, beautiful women. And so yesterday, we had a heavy day in the McGibbon house. You know that we foster 2 kids, and it was hard going yesterday. The wee girl, God love her, you know, she's been great for a long time, and then a couple of weeks ago, she just sort of took a wobbles and just started being a wee bitch and screaming and shouting and nothing wrong with her and giving off and my chair keeps. I think I'm hitting my chair, the little pump on my chair with my heel. But she's giving off, and she's been doing it for a few weeks, and yesterday it sort of culminated. And she was really, really bold, and, you know, just driving everybody nuts. But it's been compounding for weeks, and we, you know, she screams, and we just put her out of her room into her bedroom and say, "You stay there until you calm down." And then she comes down, and then 2 minutes later, she's at it again. And then she ended up spending more of the day yesterday by herself, and it's, you know, that's bullshit. So, but after weeks and weeks and weeks of this, and it has been going on for weeks and weeks. It was just, we were like, fucking hell, this is ridiculous. We don't know what to do. We're sort of at our wits' end with it. We were starting to question whether we were going to be able to do this, which is not ideal. And because you still have to have a life, you can't be driven insane, you know what I mean? And you expect things to be difficult, but not as difficult as they have been. So last night when we put them to bed, Jeannie did her witchy stuff in the house, burning the sage, and did a few wee lovely wee Irishy witch things, Celtic witch things. And then woke up this morning and had a text on I just checked my phone as I do with my morning coffee, and there's money in my bank account that I wasn't expecting, royalties from our record label in Los Angeles, and that was great, and it was well appreciated, because I'm not a wealthy person, and we just put the car in yesterday to get fixed. It needed wheel bearings or some shit. So we're like, oh god, there's another fucking bill. And then we got the money to cover it. So Jeannie did the witch thing in the house last night, cleansed it and all, walked around every room and did all her shit. And then woke up this morning, there was money to pay for the car. And then 12 o'clock in the afternoon, Chris sends me a message, "Congratulations, you've been shortlisted." That's how I found out. Because like I said, I'm not being a dick. I genuinely didn't expect it. So, to all the witches, thank you and you're fucking awesome, and I love it. I love that stuff. I believe in it. I really do believe in it. I believe there's something there. I don't know what, but, you know, if you want to believe in something, you may as well believe in that. So, there you go. Andy got nominated for the Northern Ireland Music Prize, and he's well fucking pleased about it. And he's not going to pretend. So I'll keep you posted, of course. And that was the so today is the 22nd of September, which is the autumn solstice, the equinox. So the equinox, what it means is there's an equal amount of time between the day and the night. So we're starting to move into this time of year. So there we go. I'm going to read a wee bit here. The word equinox derives from the Latin equal to night. Equinox. Makes sense, right? The phenomenon occurs twice a year. Okay. So this is written by Karen Ward from UCD in Dublin. Yet in Ireland, the Celtic festival of autumn equinox calls us away from such an energy-sapping outlook to embrace this pause between the autumn and the winter, because that's what it is, like a balance, right? Because you're just sitting there for a couple of days with this. You're not moving one way or the other. And there's a full moon and all at the minute, right? So, which is very, very groovy. The green leaves are given... normally, of course, this equinox occurs in what is regarded as mid-autumn, with winter beginning at Samhain, which is... There's me again. bloody chair. Which is the Halloween, isn't it? So now we experience a short liminal space before the hours and minutes of darkness begin to outdo those of daylight. The opportunity to synchronise our lives with that brief spell of equanimity is precious. It may be surprising to know that this is the last festival of our native year. Our next Celtic festival is Samhain, which is regarded as a celebration of the Irish Indigenous New Year. Oh, there we go. But we do have Halloween as well. It's not a festival, okay. It is the final verse of energies that begin at Samhain, with a chance to review our lives since New Year last year. So what did you do? You think about the year that you've had. This chair is doing my head in. So there we go. I'll link to that. There's a lovely article. I'm not going to read it all. It goes on about about Newgrange and those tunnels, those tunnel tomb thing, passage tombs, and the way the light comes in. Today is the day you do that. So you go to Newgrange and you stand in there and you see the light passing through. And it's this period. This is, you get 2 or 3 days to do it. So it's fantastic. So it's quite a long article. I will link to it. So that's where we are today. Today is autumn equinox, which is pretty fucking cool, right? So that's all. I think that's all my updates done. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be playing a couple of gigs. So this Saturday, I'm going to be DJing in Lurgan, up at Neil and oh god, I can't remember his partner's name. Strange Brew Coffee, anyway. Neil and Megan. So Neil and Megan's coffee shop, Strange Brew Coffee, which is up in High Street there, and it's the coolest coffee shop in the world. Literally, in Lurgan, I know. It's all psychedelic and groovy. It's just groovy. It's like fucking Austin Powers took a shit in the place, and it's got one of them egg chairs and everything's, and if you know Neil and Megan, they're just the coolest people, and so he has DJs in Fridays and Saturdays. Just go up on Saturday in the afternoon and spin some discs for an hour, and that's what I'll be doing. Hopefully play something hopefully play something maybe you haven't heard before if you get to go to that. So then the Limelight gig is still on. Well, it's not the Limelight now, it's been moved. So this gig here, the Bonneville's gig for the 2nd of December, has been moved to Voodoo in Belfast, which is great. Well, it's good. I mean, the Limelight is obviously great as well. I love the Limelight. I love Voodoo. So there you go. I don't know why it was moved. Tickets were selling okay. So, but there you go. So it's not as big a venue. So I suppose that's what I mean by that's good. So it's going to sell out a bit easier. And there's that. So that's for December. So I was saying, I'm DJing in Strange Brew Coffee in Lurgan this Saturday afternoon if you're in town. And then I'm not going to announce it yet because it's going to be announced tomorrow, but I'm going to be doing an acoustic support, a very groovy, cool one in Belfast soon. And I'm going to be playing in the Sunflower Bar as well. So I'm going to be playing the American Bar and the Sunflower Bar in the next wee while. I'm just going to be supporting at one of the gigs and doing this other little thing at one of the other gigs. But then I want to be doing a gig by myself at the American Bar, a solo show. So I haven't organised that yet, so I'm going to plan for that. And then what all that means is we're going on tour in February. The Bonnevilles now I'm talking about. So we're going to be playing the Voodoo full band show in December. So we obviously can't come back in February and play another full band show because no one will come, which is fair enough. So what we're going to plan to do, and we're only talking about this at the minute, but we need to get it organised, is we're going to do a very special wee show, maybe in somewhere like upstairs in the Sunflower, So we need to talk to those guys if they would let us book it. I'm sure they will. But we're thinking about doing something special. So bringing in other musicians. So maybe bring in Laura McFadden, who played cello with us on I can't remember the name of the song, but things like that. Bring Michael Mormika in to play keys. Get a couple of vocalists. My daughter obviously is a vocalist on our studio stuff. So do things like that, and yeah, try and mix it up. Try and mix the show up a wee bit. Do something a bit special. That's the plan. Hopefully we'll pull it off. Just looking over at the YouTube here, Reverend Duffer says, running late tonight, mate. No worries, brother. 2 of the girls in Dea Matrona are my cousin's daughters. Ah, fantastic. There you go. Delighted for your nomination, and the girls too. Obviously. That's fucking brilliant. Brilliant. I hope we all win. I know we can't, but I hope we all win. Well, we're all winners just by virtue of the fact that we turned up. Let's say that. So, okay, let's get on with this. So, theme off. Boom. Now, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the Michael D Higgins controversy. And for those of us, just keep that there. For those of us that don't know what that is, I will explain it real quickly. Right, just get my ducks lined up here. Ducks in a row. So, there's me again with that bloody seat. That's me actually doing that with my heel. It's my own fault. So Michael D Higgins, the President of Ireland, very well regarded and very well thought of by the people of Ireland. We unfortunately don't get a say in voting for the President, but nonetheless, he's very well liked. He's quite the character, poet, Gaeilgeoir, scholar, very wise person, socialist. So, I'll read this article. It's only short, a couple of paragraphs from The Guardian, just to explain what the crack is if you don't understand. So, here it is. Ireland's President Michael D Higgins has triggered a political row with Northern Ireland's Unionists by shunning a commemoration of the island's partition 100 years ago. Higgins said he would not attend a church service with the Queen next month to mark the creation of Northern Ireland because the event had become politicised. Well, it was a political event. I don't care what they fucking say. So Higgins also said the invitation had referred incorrectly to him as the President of the Republic of Ireland rather than the President of Ireland. Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, the leader of the Democratic Unionist Party, hopefully the last one, on Friday accused Higgins of impeding reconciliation and urged him to reconsider. The Unionist Party and Alliance expressed disappointment at the President's decision. Some called it insulting and disrespectful. Fuck off. For Geoffrey Donaldson, the leader of the DUP, to accuse anyone of impeding reconciliation, the man is not interested. These people are not interested in reconciliation or conciliation. They're interested in domination, especially the DUP. The row caught the British and Irish governments off guard because Higgins is a largely ceremonial head of state who is independent of the Irish government and has often championed reconciliation, including appearing alongside Queen Elizabeth in 2014, when she made her first state visit by an Irish head of state to the UK. It is the most serious diplomatic flare-up in a year-long series of events. So that's basically what it is. I'm not going to... Well, he said, I'll just read a few of his remarks. He was in... The President said of the event, which stated that it was to mark the centenaries of partition of Ireland and the formation of Northern Ireland, made it inappropriate for him to attend. I can't believe he was invited. That's where I am with that. What had started out as an invitation to a religious service had in fact become a political statement. He told the Irish Times, "I was referred to as the President of the Republic of Ireland. I am the President of Ireland." Referring to the Queen, he said, "I'm not snubbing anyone, and I am not part of anyone's boycott of any other events in Northern Ireland. I wish their service well, but they understand that I have the right to exercise a discretion as to what I think is appropriate for my attendance." Higgins bristled at the DUP's claims that this amounted to a snub. "It's a bit much, to be frank with you. I have gone to Northern Ireland to take part in events, and there often has not been a great deal of traffic down from the DUP people who are criticising me now." Jeffrey Donaldson said, "Failing to recognise the existence of Northern Ireland does not help anyone." Yeah. So there you go. So that's basically what the row was. But the outrage by the DUP is fake. It's fake as fuck. It's as fake as it comes. They don't want him. The DUP don't want the President of Ireland doing anything in the north of Ireland. They don't want him coming to the north for any events. And then when he doesn't come, they act all offended that he didn't come. And he's the President of Ireland, and asking him to celebrate the partition of this island, which has been nothing but a disaster from it started, from the first day in 1921. It's been a disaster. It's been a disaster for the nationalists, for the Catholics, for the native peoples, if you want to call us that. Gerrymandered, denied civil rights, attacked. This is day one, year one. You know what I mean? Of Northern Ireland being a thing. So you can't celebrate that. I can't celebrate that. I consider myself you know what I am, and I'm an Irish nationalist. But I'm all about peace and reconciliation and us coming together as a people, be us Protestant or Catholic or whatever. But you can't expect people like me to celebrate the partition of my country. It's just daft. And obviously this is what it is. So I'm going to read you an article from the brilliant Brian Feeney. And this is his column in the Irish News, I think. Yeah, Irish News. And Brian is kind of cool. I do like him. So, and he hits a lot of the points that I would be making too, except does it much better than me. Right. So this went out today. So this thing has been brewing for a few days now. It's been going from late last week, isn't it? So here we go. So now we're told that the non-political, in inverted commas, church service that President Higgins had the wit, wisdom and political nous to decline has a programme of events following on, which includes a state reception at Hillsborough Castle and historic buildings illuminated across the UK to celebrate partition and the violent birth of its misbegotten spawn, the North. They'd hardly drag a 95-year-old woman over to Armagh just for an hour, would they? May as well maximise her presence. Doesn't seem very neutral, does it? Sounds like a very formal British occasion, beginning in a cathedral of the Anglican religion, forced on the island to commemorate the forced participation of Ireland. Much semantic claptrap about the events not being a commemoration when very obviously they are. And are so intended as the Queen's presence reinforces. Mark, the preferred word of the clerics responsible, is just a weasel word to try to con the credulous into believing there are no political connotations. There are always political connotations about commemorations. Absolutely. Higgins couldn't attend a commemoration, celebration, what have you, of the partition of his own country with all its associated horrors at the time and subsequently. However, he has contributed his own reflection on the events in a way not acknowledged by the media in the North, in most cases not even mentioned. The President set up and hosted MacNav 100. That's an Irish word and I don't know how to pronounce it. MACHNAMH 100. An online series is... So MacNav is Irish for reflection. Reflection 100, okay. But with the deeper connotations of the contemplation and meditation reflected on the War of Independence, the Civil War, and yes, partition, it's still continuing. Higgins makes speeches on each matter himself, analysing the meaning and consequences. Distinguished academics, philosophers, and literary figures contribute also. One seminar of particular interest in the present context was of centenaries and the hospitality necessary in reflecting on memory, history, and forgiveness. So Michael D Higgins has set up this series of events. So he is talking about it. He is discussing it. He is reflecting on memory, history, and forgiveness, as the title of one of the events says. He's just not celebrating it. He can't be expected to celebrate it. So onwards with the article. As far as the BBC here is concerned, it may as well be all in Swahili and on planet Uranus. The second seminar included consideration of European empires following the First World War, the British Empire in particular, the imperial attitudes and responses to events in Ireland. It also included reflections on examples of resistance to empire in Ireland and resistance to nationalism, an overview of the international context of the events in the 1920s Ireland, including the fall of empires and particular status power of the British Empire. That international context included Britain's bloody role in suppressing Indian demands for independence, as in the Amritsar massacre. The indisputable fact is that Unionists and those commemorating events a century ago with them are incapable of examining what occurred in the context of imperialism. Right? They still see themselves as participants in Britain's current failed imperialist activity. The participation of Ireland and forcible imposition of the northern sub-polity was the first example last century of Britain exercising its colonial power to carve up a country, arming its supporters and then dumping them. The first example of that, not the last, by the way. Unionists desperately want Irish people to collude in validating what happened. They crave legitimacy for this colonial rump, a legitimacy which can only be given by Irish people and which therefore will never be forthcoming. Bravo, Brian Feeney. Another little bit. Look at what was being asked of President Higgins from a wider perspective. In all seriousness, can you imagine the President of Pakistan, Dr. Alvi, joining the President of India, Dr. Ramnath Kovind, don't know who that is, never heard of him, to commemorate the partition of Kashmir in 1947. In case you don't know, Pakistan regards it as a profound injustice to have partitioned majority Muslim Kashmir and allocated any of it to India for the last 70 odd years. There have been reported rebellions and guerrilla campaigns against Indian authority. Familiar? ? You could multiply examples of British colonialism, colonial recklessness and irresponsible imperialism, or for that matter French or Spanish, causing a legacy of death and destruction down generations. Don't try to tell anyone it's anything to be celebrated, commemorated or marked with anything but an act of contrition by Britain. And there we go. Nail on fucking head, Brian Feeney, as per usual. It's an electorate to the YouTube comments. It's an electioneering fiasco drummed up by the DUP. If the president went, the DUP would say the president supports, even the president supports. Absolutely, man. Absolutely, 100%. That's exactly it. It's a load of shit. It's not. Unionism, as we all know, is permanently angered and infuriated at something, and it always seems to be, but it doesn't get its own way. And this is the thing that I was talking about. Said this the other week. The reason that unionism has found itself, in my opinion, in trouble, I'm going to put it that way, it doesn't know how to convince. It doesn't know how to. It doesn't know how to it demands things. It demands that we accept the union. It makes demands of us, but it doesn't try to convince us. And it's gotten away with that all its life, and that's why it can't do it, because it doesn't know how to do it. Because it's never had to do it. And now, since the Good Friday Agreement, it has to do it. And it's just been losing ground ever since. Because it increasingly looks like what it is. They look like bullies. They look and at best, and childish at worst. You know? So, Brian Feeney nailed it there. And here's another quick one. This is from... I'll put the window capture up just so you can see what I'm reading from. This is from the Irish Times. Historians support President's decision not to attend the service. Because at the time, the fake outrage, and that's, you know, this is fake. This is fake outrage. They're not outraged. They don't want them to come. They just want to try and make a point. And there was a guy on Twitter today, and I didn't comment under it because I would have regretted it. But a guy called Michael Palmer, he's a UUP councillor I follow on Twitter. I don't know him or anything. I don't know why I follow him. I just did. And he said something, and he finished off his tweet with implying that he's concerned about the discrimination that he would suffer in a United Ireland. And I mean, obviously I'm thinking, what the fuck are you actually... You don't believe this. You don't believe that you're going to be discriminated against. And people had replied to him, said, don't be... much like that, shut the fuck... Don't be daft. Who's going to discriminate against you? And he meant political discrimination. This is the point. It's not political discrimination if no one votes for you. You can run as a unionist. You can run as whatever you want. As Lord John Kilclooney says, unionism in the House of Commons makes up like less than 1% of the House of Commons, but in the Dáil, in the United Ireland, they would make up 15%. And do United Irelanders realise this? And again, the comments underneath his post was, yes, we fucking know this, and we want this. We're happy to do this. This is what we've been saying for years. So, there's no political discrimination. I mean, the idea that there's going to be political discrimination is bullshit. What does it even mean? You run as a unionist, people vote for you, or don't. That's it. There's no political discrimination unless you're a unionist who's not used to having to make a convincing case. And doesn't know how to do it. Right? So that's what we're talking about here. So historians support the President's decision not to attend service. Ronan McGreevy, Irish Times. I'm not going to read it all, just a little bit. His attendance at the service to celebrate the centenary of Northern Ireland, and by extension would have created more division than it would have helped heal. There is furthermore as yet no reason to believe that such a gesture would be officially matched at political leadership level in any ceremony marking the centenary of the independent Irish state since 1949. He stated, this Dr. Manserg, I don't know who that is. Of course, the positive achievements in the lived experience in both jurisdictions over the past 100 years should be empathetically acknowledged, 100%, absolutely. Even in the one we do not readily identify with, as we all need to be capable of transcending the boundaries of our own tradition or traditions, but this does not have to involve the validation of the division of this island. Right? Saying his decision was the appropriate one, Dr. Manserg went on, the President should be commended for how much he has contributed during the decade of centenaries to the process of greater understanding since 2011. Historian Dr. Eamon Phoenix said the President had been put in a difficult position when Sinn Féin and the SDLP declined to attend an event marking the centenary of Northern Ireland. Dr. Phoenix, who's been involved in cross-community commemoration, said the church service in Armagh, organised by the joint churches, had been an attempt to reach out to both sides, and he believed that the title of the service, a reflection of hope, to mark the centenary of the partition of Ireland and the formation of Northern Ireland, was meant to appeal to both nationalists and unionists. Had the President been following the train of events in the North over the past 10 years, he would have realised that we try to find a way of balancing things, Dr. Phoenix said. But we know from the Brian Feeney article that that's not true. This wasn't just one thing. This was a series of events. This is fucking fireworks, bells and whistles, and Queen in a carriage. Right? The 1916 commemorations in Northern Ireland have been designed to appeal to both communities by focusing on the Easter Rising and the Battle of the Somme, and had largely succeeded in getting cross-party support. The President had refused to attend a dinner in Belfast during the Easter Rising commemorations because it did not have cross-community support, he pointed out. Dr. Phoenix said it would always be touch and go as to whether he was ever going to attend an event like the one marking the centenary of partition. He believed that there were analogies between it, and so on and so forth. So, he didn't go to the 1916 one, or that was organised in the North. He didn't go to it either because he didn't believe that it was cross-community and that it was political. He believed that it was political, and he doesn't want to. So there, and then it goes on about what the DUP have said, which is it isn't worth fucking listening to. So there we go. So I, for one, I support Higgins, and I'm not on my own, because in this Irish News article titled "Huge Backing for President Michael D Higgins," I mean, Michael D is loved in the South, by the way, just in case if you don't know who he is, you don't follow politics in the South. He is very, very well regarded, and look, I'm going to play you a little clip of something in a minute that will explain to you, that will illustrate to you why. So here's another article from the Irish News. Huge backing for President Michael D Higgins. Opinion poll results show there is huge support by the decision by President Higgins to not attend a religious event to mark the partition of Ireland in Armagh next month. A political row erupted last week after President Higgins turned down an invitation. We know what happened. Let's get to the results. A new Irish Thinks /Irish Mail on Sunday poll published yesterday revealed that 81% of respondents supported the decision by Higgins not to go. And a root dot, not Aaron, the President of Ireland. And that's what he means by that, by the way. His official title is the President of Ireland. He's not the President of the Republic of Ireland. And a root dot, not Aaron, President of Ireland, right? 13% of respondents said he should have accepted the invitation, with 5% saying they don't know. So there you go. Says, President Higgins said the title of the service, which will take place in Armagh, isn't a neutral statement politically. Came under fire from Jeffrey Donaldson. We know that. Don't care. And so on and so forth. And there he is, wee smiley. Look at his wee face. He looks like a leprechaun. So there's a brilliant footage of it's one of my favourite things that I see. It comes up every now and again, and it's during the Six Nations, and the president goes out, and he greets the players and shakes their hands and whatever, and I think it must be the French team. I think it was the French team. But these guys are fucking enormous. I mean, he's like about 4'6". I don't know. He's tiny. He's a wee small man. And he looks like he does. So he looks like a leprechaun. And you can see these players when they're standing in the line. You know they do that at the beginning of the match. The dignitaries come out and they shake their hands. And you can see these players, their eyes doing this when they see him. And the guy elbows his mate. Goes, look at this. Holy fuck. And the two of them are going, It's a leprechaun. We're in Ireland and it's a leprechaun. You can see them actually. You can see it on their faces. They can't believe what's happening. It's brilliant. It's not a cruel thing. They're not mocking them in any way. It's just funny. You just see that it's a natural reaction, and they're enjoying the moment. And I thought it was cute as hell. So there we go. So, if you were in any doubt, and it's kind of one of those things that, you know how you get certain markers, there's certain things that happen, and when they happen, they'll inform you, even if you're not up to speed with the deets of whatever's going on. So what I mean by that is, as soon as you hear Jeffrey Donaldson or the DUP are outraged, you just know that, okay, I'm going to just reflexively be on the opposite side of that. I'm just going to go the other way without knowing it before you know the dates. And you do, obviously, we do this politically anyway. We're all biased, I guess, as much as we try not to be, but we are. And so when the DUP are, say or do something, you kind of automatically just go, no, fuck off. I'm opposite that, and then I'm gonna, if they're attacking Michael D Higgins, I'm just gonna give him my support. And then you find out you were right to do so. Right? So that's kind of the way that goes down. So that was one of these things for me. I didn't know the full dates. I didn't realise. Then a wee bit of reading. Give the thing a few days to settle. And it's also one of the things that, I watch a lot of politics and follow a lot of commentators and stuff. And people comment about these things at the time as they happen. Like YouTube videos and podcasts. And I don't know how to do it, because it can take a few days for all the information to come in. You know what I mean? But in this instance, I think it didn't really matter, because you were fucking right. If you were telling the DUP to go fuck off, if you were doing that, you were safe. I meant to show you this. I'm going to show you this just before I move on. Oh yeah. So this is Michael D Higgins, right? Watch this. This is him when he was a politician. Well, he's a president now, but when he was an elected senator, this is him in giving off about a cut to pretty much like what the Tories are doing at the minute, like a universal credit thing, but down south. So check this out, have a wee listen.
Because those on the minimum wage know where every cent goes. They know how every cent is accounted for, and they're forced to spend it all, not on luxuries, but to survive. On the other hand, those at the very top, for whom this government and the Greens refuse to put a separate rate of tax, they do not spend all of their income. They are the people who are enjoying the 11 billion in tax escapes for the last several years. Why not start there? Now, I say that among the speeches I heard in support of this motion, the one that I am attracted to is the concept of the social floor. We regularly insult language by saying we live in a republic. We do not, Because if you had any version of citizenship, you would say that there should be a floor below which nobody would be allowed to fall, be it in relation to health or housing. And Amartya Sen, for example, the Nobel Prize winner in economics, he has said the test of your citizenship is your ability to participate in society without shame. That's what the minimum wage is about. It is about the right of people to be able to go about the ordinary things that you should be able to do in a free and decent society, be it in terms of education or health or housing or whatever. And what's more, those who cut the income of those on the minimum wage, you are visiting poverty on their children. And I say this is a disgrace, because the words are like ashes in your mouth when you say, treat all the children of the nation equally. How can a mother treat her child the same as everybody else when she loses €40 a week out of her minimum, out of her basic wages? And who are these people? 60% of whom are women. There are people, yes, working in the hospitality sector, working in the retail sector, and many of them are migrants, people we have humiliated enough. And they are also, of course, in that grey and dark area of the home care industry. So it is a myth, the myth of the minimum wage, that is stopping Ireland coming out of recovery. How dare you make such an assertion? Not one, I say it as somebody who has dealt with social statistics all his life, not one jot of evidence.
So there we go. That was him giving off about, there's loads of that, by the way. It was a few years ago. So I support that sort of rhetoric. I hope he backed it up with action while he was there. I heard some people calling him a champagne socialist. I don't know. I don't know enough about it, about him. I'm aware of who he is. I follow him, but you know. So there you go. That's who Michael D is. Socialist, President of Ireland, and didn't attend a 1916 commemoration because he felt that it was too politicised and wasn't balanced, both sides of the community. And he says for the same reasons, he's not going to attend this one in Armagh. But over the past few years, he has had his own series of events talking about and using words like reconciliation and peace and dividends, and talking about the Civil War, 16 Rising, partition, etc., etc., and the formation of the Republic. So the outrage is fake as well, and then the portraying of him as being a bigot, I guess is the word, is bullshit as well. So there you go. And the DUP don't like it, so I do. That's just the way that is. That's the way that shit goes down, isn't it? So I'm going to move on to the next thing. Let me just check that I have. Just want to clear my thing here. Give me 1 sec. Oh yeah, I found a great article. I'll read it. I'll maybe do it next week. I was planning on doing it this week, but then this Michael Higgins thing blew up. It's about Frederick Engels, and he was married to an Irish woman, and they did a tour of Ireland, and he corresponded with his writing partner Karl Marx in London about his experience here, and it's fascinating stuff. So I was going to read that, but decided to go with this instead. I'll do I'm not going to pass up on the Frederick Engels thing, so I'll do it next week, I guess. Yeah. So there we go. There's so much. The news just moves so fast. I mean, I'm going through my thing here. I have this sort of app that I save all my news stuff to that I think is interesting. You know, like their NHS, BBC headline, free hospital charges for NHS workers in Northern Ireland during the coronavirus thing it ends it now. The hospital staff have to pay their parking now. It cost the NHS £6 million. I mean, what a load of fucking shit. That's disgusting. It's disgusting that a nurse has to pay to park to go to work. And then we don't pay them enough. And they, so what? It's never fucking ending. It's staggering. And that headline, the way the BBC sort of put that headline, like it was costing us money. Yeah. We're spending hundreds of millions, billions on war, and hundreds of millions on stupid fucking yachts for the Queen. Fuck off. So there was, like I say, I just hitting you these little things. Michael Gove urged to return donors £120,000 over blatant conflict of interest. That was a story. Michael Gove, when he became housing minister, accepted a £120,000 donation from a private house builder. I mean, there's a word for that. That's called bribery. Bribery. And then today in Parliament here in in the north, Stormont, Jim McAllister was debating a bill and took a vote. There was a vote passed on a bill that would stop people with prison convictions, they call serious prison convictions, from running for office. Now, with Jim McAllister, I was talking with this with Sarah O'Neill on Twitter, and she says he's just trying to get a dig in, because a lot of the Shinners, they've served time in jail in their pasts, Jerry Kelly and the like, and that's true. But my response to it is I don't care what you did in your past. If people vote for you, they vote for you. Eliminating people participating in politics is just about controlling the electorate. It's a tantamount to gerrymandering, and Ulster Unionists would know all about that. So, so the vote, and I was actually shocked, but the vote only it failed, but 40 MLAs voted for it and 48 voted against it, so it only just failed by a few votes. I couldn't believe that. I mean, it was 5 votes that would have passed, 4 votes the other way, and it would have been a draw. 5 would have passed it. I mean, that's fucking staggering to me. You shouldn't be trying to stop people from entering politics. I don't care what they are, what they've done. Again, this is the point it was making about unionism. Make your case, convince. Jerry Kelly and others have presented themselves to their electorate, and their electorate have voted for them. That's it. The people have spoken. They tell you what to do. You don't tell them what to do. They're your boss. You're not in charge of them. You do what they say. And this is the fucking difference. And unionism has never had to do this. Unionism has never had to convince. It has been gifted and given and assisted and spoiled. So then whenever if things start to balance out, they throw their dummies out of the pram and they don't know how to act, don't know how to behave. So Jim Allister is trying to get ex-prisoners banned from entering politics. Meanwhile, Michael Gove is taking £120,000 off a donor, a fucking house builder, when he became the housing minister. That's a bribe. In any other country in the world, it's called a bribe. If we were talking about any other country in the world, the word bribe would be in the headline. That's a bribe over blatant conflict of interest. Why is he not in jail? The worst that's going to happen to him is he's going to have to return the money. And he's only having to return the money because he got caught. And why the fuck does an MP need donors? We're not America. We don't have these packs where you can own a politician, which is what they do over there. It's not that here. So why can a private company give an MP money? You give an MP money, you want something for your money. You're not just being a fucking saint. You're not just being nice. So, all these stories, there we go. Again, everyone moving so quick. Pentagon admits deadly Kabul drone strike killed 10 innocent people, including 7 children. So I don't know if you remember when the Americans were fucking evacuating at lightning speed Afghanistan. One of the things that they did was they said that it stopped a suicide bomber, but with a drone strike. Wasn't a suicide bomber. Was actually an aid worker, and they killed his whole family. Everything. 80% of all drone victims are innocent. It might even be more than 80%. I read that today, the numbers. But that's what you're talking about. So there we go. And that was the other one. A wee film recommendation. I'm going to hit the culture bit now. So a wee film recommendation for you. I enjoyed it. North Hollywood. It's called North Hollywood. Just released. Sort of a teen thing. Yeah, I enjoyed. Me and Jeannie watched it. And just thought about my daughter. My daughter Lily, 17. She's a skateboarder, and there was all little things in it that. So Lily loves that. Lily loves that. And the girl that played Summer in School of Rock, the band manager, she's in it. She's obviously grown up now. She looks exactly the fucking same, except she's a bit bigger. Fair play to her. So it's called North Hollywood. I enjoyed it. Skateboard movie. Very cool. You know, it's just not going to win any Oscars. It's just a nice little film. If you want to turn your brain off for an hour and a half, try that. So, let's do this. Last thing before we call this thing done. This is an article I found and I absolutely love it. It's called Tory Island, HMS WASP and the Cursing Stones. What's a cursing stone? You're about to find out. Wait till you hear this. This is fucking brilliant. That's why I love all this. This stuff to me is just the best thing in the world. So, the position of cursing stones in Irish folklore is poorly documented, perhaps due to their malevolent nature. Well, there's a lot of stuff that's fucking poorly documented in Irish folklore, a lot of it that wasn't written down. While the early Celtic Christian church absorbed many of the pagan beliefs of old Ireland, that process was a piecemeal one. The sacred wells became holy wells, and just as the acts of pagan heroes became the miracles of saints. All true. I'm reading a bit at the minute about Liban. So she's the mermaid and her lapdog, and then they became a mermaid, and the dog became the otter. And I'm reading about her at the minute, and she ended up, the early Christians turned her into a saint. So she chose death and going to heaven rather than live on as a mermaid. So it's sort of, I don't like that. I wish I'd have just let her be. But that's what they did. So they took the acts of the pagan heroes and then they became the miracles of saints. So and Liban was from the Loch Ness here, so where I live, so that's why I was reading, that's why I'm particularly interested in her at the minute. So, here we go. However, what could be considered the polar opposite of the sacred wells? The cursing stones were not so palatable to Christianity. The notion of uttering, this is interesting, the notion of uttering curses to damn one's enemies was an anathema to the views of Christianity, and so the stones were not part of the canon of the Celtic Church, that strange semi-heretical beast that evolved in medieval Ireland before being returned to the standard Catholic Christian format by the Norman ascendancy over the island. So what that means is, the reason that I've picked this article this week is I've started going back to Irish class again. They've opened up, so we now go up to St Peter's, the GA club around the corner, and we sit down in the room. We've been doing these online and Zoom, and everyone got fucked off with that. But we're able to go back to the actual class. So started last Thursday, so we'll go back tomorrow night. So Ewan, the guy that takes the class, put this into our little WhatsApp group, this article, you see, because last week we were talking about, he was running through, so I won't bore you, but he was running through everything real quick just to see where everybody was. So right from the start, to bump, like, how do you say hello? How do you say name, address, all this sort of shit. And right the whole way up. Then we started to get into a bit of grammar. But he was saying about, in Ireland, in Irish, there's no curse words, so there's no fuck or cunt or bastard. You know, you're a bastard. You don't say fuck off, right? In Irish, you would say, you're effectively saying, may the curse of, you say things like, may the curse of God be upon you, or may the curse of the devil be on you. That's the way you say things, right? There's no fuck off or go fuck yourself. There's none of that. It's very poetic and flowery, but it's curses, right? And we got talking about that last week in the class. And there was a girl, and it was a fella, and his partner's English. No, or was it the other way about? And I said, in English, in England, do people call it cursing? She cursed, he cursed. Like, if you say, so if fuck off, don't be cursing at me, right? Don't be cursing. You tell a child off, don't curse. Do they do that in England? Do they use the word curse, or do they say don't swear, or don't use that language, or you know? Do they use specifically the word curse? And we all started to talk about it. We're like, oh, I don't think they do. So we don't know. We're waiting to find out. So this is what this article is saying. The notion of uttering curses to damn one's enemies was anathema to the views of Christianity. And as I said in the class last week, I said this is worse than telling someone to fuck off. I mean, the curse of God be upon you, all that sort of stuff. So the cursing stones themselves were simple enough. Indeed, several survive to this day. One or more round stones resting in depressions on larger stones. I'll put it up on screen there. You can see there's a little picture. Where is it? There we go. So, can you see that on the screen? So it's just basically a rock, a stone with a hollow in it, with other stones placed in the hollow. They are of Neolithic origin and are considered to be a subset of the cup-marked boulders found across Europe, sometimes known as ballons, from the bowl-like depressions in which the stones rested. A common Christianization of them was to remove the stones and use the depressions to hold holy water. Some still retained their stones and their cursing legend, however, and it is one such stone that concerns us today. That is, if we can be sure which stone we're actually talking about. While the most famous ballon on Tory Island is commonly referred to as the Cloch na Moloch, the cursing stone, and placed at the northern end of the island, next to a lighthouse, one other candidate is a ballon found at the ruined church named Morsh Ishir, or the Church of the Seven. The church gets its name from being the burial site of 7 victims of a shipwreck, 6 men and a woman. Originally, the 7 were interred in a single grave, but the next morning the woman's corpse was found on top of the grave. This was taken by the islanders to mean that she was neither kin nor wife to any of the 6 men, and so rebelled at sharing their grave. She was thus interred in a grave of her own, where she was content to stay. We do know that there was at least one cursing stone present on Tory Island before the incident of the HMS WASP. The Edinburgh naturalist James Sconce wrote, while speaking of a visit to Donegal prior to 1884, Tory Island off the coast of Donegal, where there is a stone which, if it could be turned and the name Mr. Adair repeated over it, would have been sure to bring about his death within a year. Ooh, who's this? What does this mean? About to find out. Excuse me, I'm going to take a little drink. The Mr. Adair of which they speak is John George Adair, the Scottish-Irish businessman and owner at the time of the Glenveigh Castle in Donegal. He had made himself a hated figure in the county with his decision in 1861 to evict 47 families from his lands and demolish their homes in order to beautify his view. What a fucking prick. Small wonder that one might wish to turn the malice of the cursing stones against him. And there's a picture on the screen of HMS WASP. I think I've got a... No, I didn't. But you can see it on the screen there anyway. Fine looking vessel she is. It was evictions as well that saw people's ire turn on HMS WASP more than 20 years later. The ship had been built in 1880 and taken into the Royal Navy in 1881. The usual use that it saw was transporting officials to and from the islands off the northwest coast under charter to the Quakers for transporting urgently needed seed potatoes to Inishtool Island, and the most northerly island off the coast of Ireland. Inishtool held a special place in the hearts of the Irish immigrants who left from Derry for New York, as the light of the lighthouse on the island was for many the last glimpse of Ireland they would ever see. And it was to Inishtool once more that the HMS WASP set out the 21st of September 1884, although with a much less welcome cargo: bailiffs, whom it would first be collecting from Moville in Donegal, who were to evict those islanders who had not been paying their rent. In truth, the entire island was almost certainly in arrears, feeling themselves too remote for their distant landlord to care to act. But that distant figure's patience had been exhausted, and an example was to be made of the islanders of Inishtool. Fate, however, had other plans. It is uncertain exactly what happened on board HMS WASP in the early hours of the 22nd of September, which is today, right? As it approached Tory Island, the senior officers were asleep, leaving more junior crewmen to man the boat. Possibly not the wisest of choices, given the difficulty of the course, but it was one the ship had sailed many times before, and it may have been the inexperience of these younger men that saw them plot a different course from the standard, sailing between the island and the mainland rather than around the outside of the island. Also unusually, the ship's boilers were not in use, leaving it devoid of steam power. This was not a crippling problem, as the ship was perfectly capable of travelling entirely under sail, but it left the crew with no ability to perform fine manoeuvres in the case of an emergency. The only thing we can say with any certainty is at 3:45 a.m. the ship ran aground on the rocks surrounding the island. The ship sank rapidly, and within less than half an hour only the mastheads remained above the water. 58 crewmen on board, only 6 survived the wreck, climbing the rigging as the ship sank and then struggling on shore. There they were sheltered by the islanders until they could be picked up 4 days later by the WASP's sister ship, HMS Valiant, which took them to Rathmullen on the shores of Lough Swilly. It was doubtless the tragedy of this large-scale loss of life that led the local priest, a Father Michael MacDonald, to respond so harshly to the claims of the self-styled King of Tory that he had engineered the wreck with a cursing stone. And there's on screen the King of Tory, Patsy Dan Rogers, the current King of Tory Island. He's not, well, he was when this was wrote. He died. He died a couple of years ago, sadly. And he's an artist. And he was brilliant. And you know what? These guys were all taught, they were all self-taught artists. They started to paint. And they didn't know perspective because they hadn't been taught perspective. And then some English painter came over and taught them perspective. And I think their paintings got worse. They were more accomplished technically, but I think the paintings got worse. I think when they didn't know, but before the English painter showed them perspective, the paintings were better. I think. I'll tell you. Actually, you know what? There we go. I'm going to write that down. Patsy Dan, and then paintings. And I'm going to talk about that because it's brilliant. I love their stuff. And my Irish teacher knew this guy. But anyway, so the title, the King of Tory, you know that, right? The Tory Island has a king. It's King of Tory Island, right? So Patsy Dan was the last one. So the title, the King of Tory Island, is an odd one. While the legendary king of the island, Balor of the Evil Eye, was hardly a figure of veneration. You've heard of Balor of the Evil Eye, right? Still, the island retains the tradition to this day of having an elected king of the island. The current king, artist and musician Patsy Dan Rogers, and there's a link to him, I'm going to look at that later, has turned the island into a haven for traditional Irish artists and was recognised by the islanders both for this and for his campaign against the government's plan to resettle islanders after storms in 74, cut them off from the mainland for 2 months. Brilliant documentary on RTA about all this. The King of Tory in 1884 was a much less venerable figure. Little is known of him save for his name, which was Hegarty, and his reputation, which was poor. The story has it that he claimed to have loosed the curse of the stones upon the HMS Wasp, in the belief that it was coming to evict the Tory Islanders. Not an implausible belief, as they were over £2,000 in arrears, and had also refused to pay their rates. While Father O'Donnell, a noted Fenian, had been a supporter of the islanders in their refusal to pay the rent, he thought unjust either the pagan basis of Hegarty's claims or his distaste for the glee the man showed over the deaths of the sailors enraged the priest, and he is said to have taken the cursed stones from their billon and thrown them from the cliff that overlooked the wreck of the Wasp. One could imagine that he might have threatened to send Hegarty after them if he reported his claims. But that is just my own personal touch on the tale. The author. Last bit. The Naval Court of Inquiry on the wreck of the Wasp found no single crewman to blame, but simply that want for due care and attention had led to her wreck. The islanders of Innistool, meanwhile, were reprieved from eviction and remained on the island until 1929, when failure of the local fishing led the islanders to relocate. Tory Island remains inhabited to this day, although the wreck of the Wasp was removed, sold for salvage, and the stones, whether they were hurled from a cliff, buried, or otherwise hidden, have never been seen since. And there's Tory Island. No, that's not Tory Island. It's Innistool. Innistrahull. So there you go. Isn't that brilliant? There's a wee article. Let's see if I can save that Patsy Dan article. No, didn't come up. But anyway, so there we go. That's me done. What do you think of that? So cursing stones. I like that. Not that it would place a curse on anyone. I don't hate anyone that much. But I like that. What do you think? There we go. All done. So thanks everybody that joined me on the live stream. There was a few of you there. That was lovely. And hope you enjoy the podcast when you get the audio version of this. Like, share, subscribe. I would appreciate it greatly. As I said, I did want to talk about, and it's another thing I'm going to tie in. I've noted one of the reasons that I mentioned that film North Hollywood was the character is played by the wee girl from School of Rock. She's now a young woman. She's all into burning sage and healing stones and all this sort of stuff, and carrying stones, these crystals. And my Lily's into that. My daughter's into that, and Janie's into it a bit, but Lily's mad into it. And they do tarots, and they do all these things. And as I told you at the start about the cleansing of the house last night, and then we had all this good luck today, and all that. And I was reminded of a tweet that someone twittered a week or two ago, and she says there's a queue. No, the way she put it was brilliant. She says there's a queue of young girls outside a crystal shop in a street in Belfast. I can't remember the name of the street. She says, what do they know? I thought that was just brilliantly put. She said, what do they know? And I thought that was class. But what it sort of sat with me. It stayed on me for a while. It still sat on me. And I'm thinking about, we want to believe in something. We don't want to feel that we're just cut adrift in the universe and left to our own devices, and that there's nothing we can do. It's not so much that there's anyone in charge, but you know, that my wife can go through the house and burn some sage and say make a few offerings to our ancient ancestors, and things might change. And then these wee girls, and they're believing, you know, giving you a crystal to put in your pocket to bring you luck, or to make sure that you succeed at something. And these things aren't disconnected. They're all there for a reason, because the world is such a chaotic place at the minute. It feels like that. And these young people are reaching out to try and grasp meaning from anywhere they can. And I'd encourage them. I think it's fantastic. I like it myself. I think it's a very beautiful thing. But we've lost a lot of these traditions over the years through colonialism, through our Christianity has taken these things, as I just read out in the article, denied us these things, changed these things, stolen these things from us. So a lot of them have been forgotten, but not totally. And I will predict that there's going to be more and more and more of this stuff. You know, witches and paganism. You know, if I had to fill out a form the other day, and it asked me, it was a survey, and it asked me, it was a government thing, I'd done this thing, and I had to fill out a form in the government, and they said, would you rate our service? And it asked you, what religion are you? Catholic, Protestant, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Jew, whatever. Other. And then there was a wee box, so you could type whatever you wanted. And it was this close to typing pagan. You know? But then, when I was stressing out last night, I nearly blasted myself. I did. And, you know, so, I don't know what my point is. I do know what my point is. My point is that we're all searching, and we like to be able to feel that we can have a little bit of control and a little bit of, there's things we can do. If we're good people and bad things happen to us, we're like, why? I haven't done anything wrong. And then your wife burns sage, and the universe gives you some money the next day. And not that it's not that sort of modern Christian seed money bullshit, you know. I don't mean that prosperity gospel hort nonsense. I don't mean that. That was just maybe a bad example, but can you dig it? So there we go. So if you're having a bad day and you're getting a bit stressed out, get some sage, burn it through your house, open your doors and your windows, and do all that. I'll get a few of these things together for you, because Janie does all this stuff. She takes care of all of that for us. She's always been a bit of a witch. She's always, from I've known her, she's always been in healing. She's into healing, and she's always been very, very good at it. And I'll get a few of these together and I'll share them with you, and you can try them, see what you think. Let me know what you think. You should try it. It's a very simple one. That open all your doors and windows and go through the house and burn the sage and and it takes away all the bad energy. Yeah, and it doesn't cost you nothing. So there we go. We're going to call it. Thanks everybody. Like, share, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed that one. I know I did. And I'll talk to you next week. Toodle pip.
I spoke